Hello.
Well, hello. This is Jeff and Foxy, Final
Hello.
Boss. We're a little sleepy tonight, so we might go relatively...
Oh, awkward. Awkward, sorry.
banned for language. Have a nice day. Anyways, we're going to go through our priority edits, so we will give them our full attention, and if we get a little too sleepy, we will postpone them until the next one. Because we want to make sure that our priority edits get a good, fair shake. But yeah, I want to start giving things. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and dig right in. Prologue, dawning. A girl walks among endless shelves of books in an ancient tower. If we're eventually going to know who this is, girl. Unnamed characters are always a little bit of a gamble. Yeah, it makes it harder for us to relate to them, and the most important thing early in a story is relating.
This is reliability.
Oops, sorry. Word. But yeah, that's fine. An ancient tower, she wandered its corridors, enjoying the feel of each tome as its passage. So this is another great example of getting as concrete as you can with your language. So enjoying the feel. That's like very telling. Yeah. So one thing that you can do is she can be like running her fingertips along the spine of each tome she passes. So that's something that obviously you might want to do a lot. I'm sure you can do a ton better job than that with some thought, but that's something that brings us into the scene more, makes us feel, using our senses. Feeling, touch is a very powerful sense. So you describe the sense of what's going on. Yeah, she senses the power radiating from them. But what does that power feel like? And she runs her hands over the bindings. Okay, I guess this is what we do. Yeah, I mean, but then, you could be like, that heat power warms her hand. She pauses, tracing the letters braided into each of the tones before moving on. Her fingers linger behind of her own volition, letting the tomes' energies flicker and dance around them. You're to pluck the tome and begin their own.
What a tome.
Yeah, a lot of tomes and tome. As if eager to pluck the tome out. Thanks for the cheer, Nightingale. Making it rain. Welcome. And you got to submit your story soon for a priority edit because you definitely earned one.
Yes.
So feel free to send over your work and we'll get you on that priority edit list. But thank you so much again and happy Saturday night. That was just hello. Welcome.
Nightingale. Wonderful.
Lady Nightingale. All right. Well, we're editing the Dawning prologue. So get excited. You are the history of my people, she whispers to the tones. The otherworldly glow brings light. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, perhaps even something that doesn't necessarily reference the book. Remember, you have a lot of stuff. Maybe one day, boss. Maybe one day. Well, remember, as the writer, you have a lot of tools at your disposal. Remember, you can use synecdoche, like those types of tools to have.
Don't know what that means.
Oh, sorry. The pages. So synecdoche is using the part to describe the whole. So you could say, "Hey, she whispers to the pages," and we know she's referring to the tomes. And same with stepping outwards and moving into that scene and saying, "Hey, you are the history of my people," she says to the bookshelves. So instead of using a zoomed in thing to describe something, you can use a zoomed out.
It's also more all encompassing that way. Like all of the books is like a particular tome or
yeah.
What do you need help with, Nightingale? Shoot.
Do ask your help from something. Yes, please shoot. You are always able to ask. The chat is always an AMA. Any tips on how to write a short story summary? Well,
short, right?
Yes, I would try to find a very similar to a log line, something one sentence, unless you're trying to do a true summary. But one thing that I always encourage writers to do is, even if they're writing a short story, write a little log line or a hook about that story. And then what you'll find is that you'll kind of have that summary written before you start writing. If you've already written it, look for the biggest character arc that's happening. Look for the biggest journey that's happening. What is changing in the story, and write a summary about that. So I don't know if you saw me streaming and writing my Choose Your Adventure short story. You know, but sort of like a summary of that would be what's happening in the story. What's the action of the story? Is a young professional goes into the most nightmarish conference ever created and has to choose to either do the right thing or destroy the entire world. Something like that, where it kind of brings some of the exaggeration out of the story, and hopefully you have some fun with it.
Okay, exit story.
Yeah. You tell the struggles and the trials of our heroes. You speak to their triumphs. You tell of their failures. You unravel the machinations. Those who see how to destroy. The girl had a long wish to experience every detail, every story, and every tone. Evil plots, twisting and turning. So one thing that you'll find is openings like this are a little bit, they work and they're effective, but they're sometimes can be a little bit on the soft side due to the fact that there's no conflict. If you open up, open up 10, go to Barnes & Nobles, open up 10 books, read their first pages, which is what we just done with yours. You'll almost always see some sort of argument or some sort of event already happening or already taking place. And media res is really common now, and it's something that we should consider, but this feels a little bit more expository, which works, but it runs that risk of not being a very strong hook. Can be effective, but run the risk of not. Like, for example, in the story that Danielle is writing, the book opens with her looking desperately for her uncle. So there's already something at stake. There's already, or not uncle, but kind of guardian. But there's not there's already some sort of momentum going on there. So because we don't know what to root for, we kind of want this, girl in her story to find her uncle, and those types of things. She is Haro, yet still a child. And during their childhood, all Haro learn of their world. We are a long wish to experience every detail, every evil plot twisting and turning in the world of its head before ancient heroes saved the day if the heroes saved the day. A little bit confused.
Yeah.
Is Haro a place?
Or is it like a school?
And how do heroes sometimes save the day? I would just give that another look. She is Haro, yet still a child. During their childhood, all Haro learn of their world, they learn about things. The story's tone and told in tones of power. I'm able to call upon the tower enemy tome to experience the events firsthand. Visions and understanding granted them through wisdom untold.
To do what?
Yes. Good. Again, getting a lot of information, but sometimes see stories hide this exposition in the middle scene where a character has a goal they want, something is active. The girl steps forward again, stopping every few feet as a smile makes its way across her youthful face. When she smiles... you probably don't need this little... I'm not going to get too much into line editing. Flecks of violet in her eyes sparkle as if they were a star or galaxy. They burn bright and become filled with curiosity that could not fade. Yeah, there seems to be there's some sort of they burn and become filled. Hence consider she had come to the tower early this day to immerse herself in the power all around her. Yet time was short for the tome she was to begin her studies with only a few rows ahead. She knew. We already kind of know that she knows this. So stuff like this is always, especially when you're in that close third person, when you're kind of talking with like the camera, in their head, those types of things can save you a lot of space. So we know we're kind of in her interior thoughts. The tome that would begin her journey, that begins all Haro's journey through their own history, the tome of the beginning of all things. First book. The Haro goddess Tarone was the beginning and the end. She who willed their world Tarnos into existence. It was she who was first born, winning herself into physical form. It was she that began Haro's existence.
I like your both narrators.
Yeah.
Names.
Yeah. It'll be voice acting, if anybody. It was she that began Haro's existence and recorded that beginning with the first words of dawning. Okay, so one of the reasons, and I know this is a prologue, but one of the things, what's a very common piece of writing advice is, write your prologue, then take it out of your book. And the reason that is because prologues are a really good place for writers to discover all the backstory of their world and all the mythology and themes. But by the time you get to the story and you're working with a real active character, a lot of this stuff, anything in this history that doesn't play into that active character's journey is really irrelevant because we're really here for the characters. The world is really powerful and really interesting, but it's only as good as the characters. You see Brandon Sanderson with his crazy world building, but the only thing you ever see of that is what the characters experience with the world. So beware of there's a reason that in Lord of the Rings you never hear the world's mythology until the Silmarillion, which was really more for him. It was really for Tolkien to kind of get that information out for himself. Beware of mythological openings. They tend to be less effective in starting a character with goal, stakes, and urgency. The girl had long dreamed of entering this tower, of discovering the secrets locked away in his tomes. Again, that word is kind of like, so it's irregular, so we're kind of like, feel the Danielle's note where it's like kind of this like, like you're kind of like, you notice.
Okay, switch around and say books.
Yeah. Every dream, every fantasy, removing was she fun with the first into the tower fantasy, the first time she laid a finger on one of these.
But we don't.
Okay, so we're back out of the vision. Walking with the gravity.
I think at this point it's hard because we don't know. We don't really know what the books do. I'm so excited about it, but I don't really know why. Is she gonna get?
So kind of like movies.
Finally, get to join the secret. The higher. Start to learn powers. Is she gonna? Or does she just love knowledge and she wants to be like the best scholar in the world? It's like you can do all this if you give us specifics on what her goal is instead of just entering the tower and discovering the secrets. Well, what are the secrets? do? Is it like gaining access, being able to, perform magical things? Like when you just get power. I don't know. I can't care as much because I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just giving us access, like, why is she here? What matters? And that's just like a couple of sentences where that can make a huge impact in the read. Walking with the gravity that has been building since she entered the tower, the girl turns into the last aisle where Donning sits alone at the end of the shelf. The tome glows with an eerie violet-white light, glowing ever brighter. She dashes towards it, standing in front of it. Power embedded within seems to flow in her, chilling her spine. Just a common idiomatic thing there. Yeah. Good that you're showing me the emotions, but especially since that's a different register of language, right? So you're using this very high register of language. You know, it's tomes and the great library and the dawning of time. It's a very poetic, very thoughtful language. So whenever you bring something like tying stomach into knots, it's not only an idiom, but it's a little bit of a change in register, so that'll kind of stick out for two reasons. So I would definitely consider revising there. As she begins to pull a tome from the shelf, the tome becomes a physical force. Her body quakes, her arms go weak. When in panic, she tumbles and it falls and catches and daydream what's to come. The girl's small.
Catches it as she breaks from.
Daydream. Daydream is usually a positive from her nightmare.
Well, I think it's trying to imply that she almost drops it, but then she catches it. Maybe, but maybe it is.
The moon of panic.
Or fumbles. She catches it as she breaks from her.
So maybe,
I'll just clarify.
Does she drop out of fear?
I think it sounds like she's daydreaming, isn't paying attention, starts to drop it, catches it, which breaks her out of said daydream. I would just clarify that.
All right, another question.
Bring
it, Nightingale.
We got answers.
All of them.
All the answers.
What's the meaning of life?
42.
Go. 42.
Next.
She's a supercomputer. She carries a tome to the meditation circle in the middle of the floor of the circuit. So she meditates with it. How to write summaries for chaptered stories. I'm very bad at summaries. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty similar, where, depending on how long the summary is, there'll be some cases where you write a one-pager for your book. There'll be some cases where you write a three-pager for your book, especially if it's longer. And you're usually looking for big arcs. It's going to be very, high level. You can try to, make it feel like it's a story, but most of the time...
Yeah, are we talking, back of the book kind of summary, or...
Yeah.
Like a summary of everything that happens every chapter?
Yeah. What is this for? Are you trying to submit your book to some agents? Arriving at the center of the floor of the meditation circle, she steps inside. Alright, we already have... we already know it's a circle, so repeats like this and notices that the noises around her are no longer, I would say, have silenced.
Yeah, back of the book, I think you can stick with the same log line and just make it longer.
Yeah, I agree. Agents appreciate birds.
But that's a fish, Nightingale. That's a fish.
Well, that's a fish?
Fish.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're thinking of a back of the book, hook summary, you're going to be more focused on the beginning of the book and maybe one of the big questions where you're going to... What would interest you? Which is in a world where foxes are animate people, one decides to become human. and discovers an evil plot to kill all the foxes in the world. Will she find love and have fox battles, or will she get destroyed?
Yeah.
Like that type of thing?
Picture, like, the main...
Yeah. Conflicts.
Yeah, the main characters, all goals and stakes.
Yeah.
And a little hint of things to come later. Because you don't want to spoil it. You don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I mean, I can also, gosh, I have my old screenplay summary. I can share that with you if you want. But yeah, that's more of a technical document where it's just like a really quick one-page like treatment. Boom. You can now hear the acolyte with his belt of tools. He continues cleaning the tables and chairs in the group. Conflict characteristic setting, just about right. Yeah. Just about right. Study of Simpson's first floor. She can no longer hear the whispers of the older children on the floors above.
And still.
Oh, she can still.
Oh no. Well, she's...
Oh no, she can no longer hear.
And then after that.
Her mouths. So where are these others? Are there people with her? This seems to defy the scene that I've understood. I didn't think there would be nearby. I didn't think there are kids near close enough to there be heard laughing.
You are welcome, Nightingale Fish.
I shall take notes very much, Fox Boss.
You are now, I call you, Nightingale Fish.
Creed.
Confirmed.
Like Nightingale Fish confirmed. Boss. Isn't she adorable? She's the cutest.
Nick.
Oh, Nick. She's getting old, though. Oh. She's getting old, though. Fixing to die soon.
Got me a nice grave in the back.
Yeah, got a nice. Gonna just put her in the backyard.
Empress Nightingale Fish.
Just gonna put her in
decreed.
Put her in the backyard.
Let it be done. Continue.
Alright, 6. Okay, she places it down in the center of the circle between small ones, stood on each side with candles present that they were unlit. She opens the book on the first page. Ritual. Okay, Donning tells the creation of her and Ice Chernlin. So she's doing a ritual to read the book. Why show us now if she's going to experience this? Won't we see this later? Trust your story to carry us.
Yeah, what is it? Does it have to do with the ritual?
Yeah. I would cut these sentences. Keep us in the scene. Keep us in the scene if you can. Kneeling in front of the book, she begins. I would just make it. This seems kind of like you don't need kind of this like oopsie lead in. I would just say she kneels in front of the book at the center. Circles. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so just keep it active. Like, just show us what's going on in the scene. She lights the candle on the left, and as it catches, she inhales deeply, taking the fumes given off by wax and wick. Good, using smell. Good job. Bringing those other senses in. She takes another deep breath. Seems a lot of build-up. So we're almost 7 pages in, and
all she's done is walk through a tower,
open up a book, and take a book.
Now she's sitting in a circle, breathing and lighting candles. There's a lot of build-up. There's none of us no problem with any of that.
but it's gotta pay off. And one thing I would encourage, especially with modern readers, where this build up is not as it's harder to sell, I would say. So one thing that's very well worth considering is getting to the action, and that kind of goes back to that earlier point that prologues preclude themselves to indulgence from the writer, right? And it's and this is like kind of like the, it's not everybody. There's obviously lots of published books that get prologues, but I wrote a prologue for my novel. I took it out because I don't know. Did you ever read it when I had the prologue?
I did. Yeah, the guy in the cell.
Yeah, the guy in the bake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't need it.
Didn't need it.
Didn't need it.
Yeah. So those types of things.
Me.
Yeah, just confuse everybody. So I'm not saying that my experience is the same as what you're going through here, but because the writer is like, I'm setting up this massive world, they take the pressure on themselves. They take the pressure off themselves to continue to tell a dynamic and moving and popping story with conflict, scenes, stakes, people battling over things, stuff at risk if things don't go right. So that's, I think, what's missing here, which is a huge, huge problem, especially in a first novel. I don't know if she doesn't go, what if this ritual fails? What happens? Yeah, does she light on fire? Does the book consume her? That would be really interesting because maybe this story she'll get sucked in and she can actually change history and ruin it. Those types of things I think are really interesting.
And I'd like to know earlier on that she's going to do a ritual. First, it was her just walking around the books, and if it was like the girl walked through the tower, almost time for the ritual, I would be like, oh, okay. Like, there's going to be a ritual that's promising. That's, I don't know what for. And then you could slowly be like, all of this history, all the power, soon it would be hers, and her, like, touching the books. You're like, okay, some sort of ritual involving power, that's cool. But I think it's, like, just kind of keeps being a little bit vague as we go along. And not, like, it's giving us the information we don't need, and waiting too long to, like, she would be thinking about the ritual, right, beforehand. So I feel like that should have come up earlier, so it feels unnatural to suddenly have her be like, by the way, I'm going to do a ritual. I'm like, oh, internally she wasn't, like, so excited for this ritual. I want to make sure I get it right. I want to impress everybody, or, oh, I hope I don't mess up and die, or accidentally light this place on fire, or if I mess up, I'm not ever going to make it. And that would be helpful just to build her as a character, too.
Yes, totally agree. Writing is all about giving the reader the right information at the right time. That's it.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's very hard to do. But that's like one of those things where and sometimes it means never giving some people certain facts about what's going on in the story, and then some of it is giving them certain facts, but later in the story. And I think some of these things feel like we need different information right now. We need kind of what Fox is saying. What is this girl thinking right now? She's about to perform her very first ritual. I don't care as much about the world or what the content of the demigods of Sunali. I don't need to know that yet. I think it's awesome that you have that figured out, but that is information for later.
And even like the details of what happens when she lights the candles, I don't care as much because I'm not hearing what's going on in her head. She's not like, oh, thank God. The first one, like, it'd be more interesting if she was like, oh, thank goodness, that was the most difficult candle. If she had missed that one, it would have been done. Okay, now just one left. Like a little bit of just to keep us like engaged.
Yeah.
But
she feels her body becoming lighter. Okay.
Her knees can no longer hold the entirety of her weight. Then her body becomes so she get heavy and then light.
Where is the knees one?
Right, this next sentence right before it.
And knees, she feels very. Yeah. Also, she struggles against inevitability. That needs to be a lot more concrete. So that's the thing. You want to get abstract language. What does inevitability feel like to struggle against? Is it a pressure? Is it a mental pull?
Is it panic?
Is it thought? Is it a welling of fear? So every reader, that's the problem with vague and abstract language. Every reader that reads that, I'll say what I felt it was. I thought it was some sort of thing pulling her forward.
I thought it was just like a panic attack.
There we go. That's totally different, right? So you describing exactly the concrete motions of what's happening is so critical. That's one of the things that I kind of am seeing kind of happen a little bit throughout, and something that if you can work on that and start making your writing more concrete, oh my gosh, it will night and day. And then this is really strong. Like, I think it's a cool setup, but like that, it'll have that extra snap that really is what engages readers. And she struggles against like force, like pulling from the back of her neck towards the book, dragging her head down. I wasn't ready for this, she thought. They never prepared me. And then goes into the book. Like whatever that is, like, she's strained to keep from falling over, so I guess that kind of has become a force. But like, bring us fearful. So this fearful of somehow
the inevitability of like falling over. Maybe she suddenly loses her balance.
Yeah.
It could be that simple.
Yeah. So fearful of somehow failing her first training. That's awesome. So one, I don't see a trainer, so I kind of wonder, training, where's the trainer? But then also show me this fear by describing her fearful thoughts. I've got to get out of here, whatever. That's a bad example. Did I miss it? No, we're still going. We got a few pages left. We're going to probably go to page 10 here. But don't worry, we have the notes for you, Katerina. I don't know if you replied to those, I think I'm on the right one. I was just trying to confirm. Sorry if I messed that up. I think this is the right prologue. I mean mine, silly.
What was this? This is this.
This was yours. Right?
Wait, where did you...
Oops, that is my... I was like,
are we doing the wrong one?
This is awkward. That's good. Well, we've still got some more room to go. So we have the recording. It will be up as well. So you'll have all your questions answered. The tome turns over the next page of its own accord. Woman floating is floating in the void of the universe. Nothing else exists. No stars, no planets, save only one. My world, Tanos.
This is first person now? Oh, wait. Oh. A woman is floating. My world. Like an outside?
Clarify who the speaker is here. One thing, too, is I noticed we kind of had this information earlier, right? So one of the things to consider is avoiding that verbal doubling. So, we had this.
Is that like the goddess or whatever?
Don't need that earlier one if we have it spelled out here. Yeah, so that was like way up here. We had the one about, yes, Tuharo, the goddess Haroni, was beginning. It was she who willed the world, Tanos into existence. She who was the firstborn, willing herself into visible form.
Is that who's talking?
I think so. You can drop the woman from the woman is clad. Very true. My world. She's clad. I get the feeling that I'm lost in interview. So yeah, definitely some point of view flux going on here that I would definitely want to figure out. Whose POV is this? Can we get a unified POV? So unified POVs are really important. What's up, Husky? Hello. So earlier, we're mostly in this girl's close third person, which is the camera is sometimes in her head, it sometimes zooms out, it sometimes gives us world information, but it's only really the world information that's stored in her brain. So she can't tell me that. So this couldn't say, there were 20 elders watching her from outside, studying her every move, or else that would break the POV you set up earlier. Same thing here. You're kind of breaking a little bit of that POV where, you start it, where a woman is floating in the void of the universe. That tells me we are in third person and perhaps omniscient.
Yeah, if you want to make sure that you could just be like, I see a woman floating in the void of the universe. So at least, it would still, you still have to clarify who the eye is.
Oh, so this is the girl's eye.
Yeah.
Ew.
I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would probably not. I would try a revision where you just keep it in the same POV. Maybe it's italicized and that's it. But whenever, because we've already gotten to know this girl in a third person POV. Might not need to change it. The universe is within this one existing solely in her. I am 1 in a billion specks of light. Yet none are bright enough to sin.
Maybe that's the eye. Correct me if I'm wrong. Drawn to her by conflict.
So another kind of place where we need some concrete stuff. Give us some of the scene. You kind of do earlier, but like stars outside of her spin as I'm pulled through space, wheeling around the giant. What but is the feeling of understanding cannot stop. Bring us into that moment more. Use those concrete details. Forever is but a moment, but I'm falling under her over an eternity of forevers. It's a really hard line to understand because that can mean so many things to different readers. So our goal as the reader is to understand and say, okay, what is the writer trying to get me to see? So all I need is enough information to play the movie in my head. So the lines like this are so abstract that so many different people can read that line and get so many different interpretations out of it. So that one you kind of actually have that down here. We will become one, the woman and I. She becomes I. She is Haroni. I am Haroni. From the world, 10 notes. I cut 4 fragments. They are beautiful and smooth. I select this one, the most dazzling and largest of the 4. So it's a really cool way to do an origin story, right? Or like the mythology stories. You become the god that formed the world. That's pretty cool. I like this concept.
I still want to know why she's doing this, though. Like, I would care more if I knew that she was going to gain some power of the goddess at the end of it. Yeah. At this point, it's more just reading, like, exposition still. So, like, I get she's excited about it. She wants to do it, but I don't know why still. We are doing an edit, Husky Remedy, for one of your fine Twitch...
One of our subs. People. So, Katarina subbed to the channel and got a priority edit. So she got to skip the line for the free edits. So instead of waiting for months and months while I get my life together, she gets to have one in only like 3 or 4 weeks.
Story-wise.
Oh, what's going on?
Basically,
I'll let you describe it. I'm going to grab some water.
Okay, he's grabbing water. So basically, it's a girl. There's a girl who's like walking through this tower, looking at the books, and she's really excited about the books. And then she's starting some training for something. Okay, Katrina says the tome is supposed to be a way to teach the history of the world. So why is that? Like, what's the stakes in that? If they don't learn it, will they be destroyed? If they don't learn it, will the power be lost? basically, yeah, so she gets the book, she sits down to do a ritual, and then she kind of falls into the book, I guess, and now she's sort of floating around with the goddess that created the world.
Hello, 667.
That's what happens with the return.
So I like the book idea. I think it's a really cool image. And it's a really cool way of delivering this information. But the one
sure, bro.
freaking reppin'.
This is my one.
Reppin' goes.
I let him wear mine.
Dog, freaking reppin'.
Hello, Rockers Youth. I'm impersonating your fish.
Hang loose, bro. Ghost bath, bro. I know we rep our peeps. You gotta get Final Boss shirts. I'm gonna start selling some Final
Boss shirts. Oh my gosh.
Well, we'll get Butcher's picture and we're gonna put it on the shirt.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I would wear that.
It's true.
I would wear that.
It's true. I'd wear it too.
Dude, okay, focus.
Yeah. But the problem is, I think, and something to consider, Katarina, is this information, though it is the beginning of the world and it feels like that's an appropriate way to start a story. Is like, hey, I'm going to go into an epic fantasy world. The best way to start everybody off is this, information about how the world was dawned and everything like that. That I've very rarely seen a case where that has actually been the best use of the book's beginning. That information, if it's important to the story, should come in later. But I would really consider starting with the action, starting with the problem, starting with the character struggling with something.
Care about even if like the history is like the fact that she needs to learn this history and what the history is, it can still be really, really important to the story later. But we need to care about the character first before we won't keep reading. Like, if there's no hook of like the character, if it's all just expository, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do feel like if you still need this, and if you say, hey, Jeff and Fox, that's great.
Cool it.
But I'm not taking that advice, and this is going to stay in my prologue. I would really strongly considering putting something at stake. What goes wrong if she fails this test? What goes wrong? How does this hurt her if she doesn't do it right? Upon Thanos, trusting the core of the world, the ancient tower of Saipan comes to life. It shudders and glows. Longing to love as though yearning for the universe. Longing to love it in perpetuity. Another pretty abstract language again. Yeah, so whenever something's hard to visualize, it just becomes a lot fuzzier. It becomes a lot more about ideas, and it becomes about this like gripping story that pulls you in. So concrete details. That'll be really, really powerful, and I think in future edits. Pinnacle of Saipan is open. It blends and mutes the space. How? Where the tower ends and the universe begins. What is it? Is it a blurring of colors? Or like stars mixing with stone? That's kind of the concrete stuff I think I'm looking for. What does blending and muting the space where the tower ends and the universe began? Yeah, what does the limestone look like exactly? But seriously, one extremely concrete and sharp detail can fill out a scene. Why
are we yelling? She is Empress Nightingale.
She is Empress. But it's like you say, Joe picked one of the splinters out of the bar's, unfinished, bar tab and, rubbed his beer glass against it. You kind of know that scene. He's in some grimy bar. It's a bad example, but that's kind of what you're looking for here.
I didn't get like a lot. Okay.
I like that.
Welcome to chat.
Welcome. But in the pinnacle, I ensconce myself. My becoming is a ring around the ancient tower. My being becoming is a ring around the ancient tower. My essence encircles the upper floor. Intent, I begin to craft 3 more.
This is also very long.
Yes, yes. There's not much, so there is not much that has changed. Not much has changed. It's changed. From page 2, we kind of had the creation story. This is a beautiful rendition of it.
Beautiful rendition. Your hair.
What is your deal right now?
Like, well, no, calm down. Fine.
Can't tame the lion.
I give up. Okay, our hair matches now. You look like a rocker. You look like freaking Sid Vicious right now.
Look like I'm in a freaking ghost bath. You dig? Looks like I'm a ghost bath, bro. Since I wear this shirt, my hair gets longer and God, I like freaking rock. Huh? But anyways, yeah. So this is a really beautiful rendition of a creation of the creation story, but it's the same story we knew earlier, which is this lady creates the world, and this girl opened a book and entered it. Nothing in their life situations has changed. Everything is happening as it's supposed to happen. We've already been told this is supposed to happen. Everything is happening as it's supposed to happen. That is really hard in terms of a story. You need to have things go wrong.
Especially by page.
But yeah, we're on page 10 almost. This is going to be, we're going to do one more. And then
I think at least foreshadowing of it, I would say. Like, hey, all will not go right. Like maybe just shorten it a little bit to get there.
Oh, I hate writing this. Kill the darlings. Just a few of them. Oop, is it not fully centered? I just noticed that. I am so sorry. There we go. Apologies.
Out up there?
I don't know where chat pops out. Hi.
Oh,
it's down there. The writing the story, which is confirmed 3 chapters away. Format the story. I should have sent you chapter 1 instead. It's okay. It's all good. Well, my guess, it's all good. Well, you know what? Send it in. We'll put it back on top of the list. Or, we'll put it back through the queue.
Seems like this is a lot of exposition, so I'm guessing story is like chapter 1. Like, okay, now we're in story time.
True. That's good to know. It's good to know because, like, every writer always has that, like, man, should I include my prologue? I asked that about my novel. I'm sure everybody.
Yeah, he was like, I think I need it, and I was like,
yeah.
I don't know, bro.
So every writer asks that crap, man, this prologue, I really want it in there. So it's good. You have an external, hey, what if I thought, can I get a priority edit too?
Sub, dude, sub.
So it's usually a sub unless your bits equate to the amount of a sub, which I think is like $5. My prologue isn't even a proper prologue edit. It's for book 7. Nice. But you can, and you should at least submit your work because I'm going to be going through the queue a lot faster. Another thing to consider, though, and I think one thing that, because we're pretty much at page 10 here, so that'll probably wrap up the edit, and because I kind of want to spend a little bit of our extra time kind of talking with you since you're here, is I would really think about the concrete language, getting into the concrete language and ensuring every scene has a goal and stakes, and some obstacle. So that concrete language note, I think, is really important, and just reading the way you write and your writing style, I feel like that might be something that will
I have to work on too. Like, I tend to write like more poetic, vague stuff, and I have to catch myself and be like, no, what does that look like?
It's 400 good, sure. $78 in bits, yet denies a priority edit, leaving boss to feel empty and incomplete.
I told you to send stuff in. You refused.
You refused a priority edit.
You refused.
Birds. Birds these days.
You are welcome to send things.
Yes, of course. Feel free to send your stuff in. We're going to be editing a lot more So you can even just send in for a free edit, and it'll come around a little bit faster. Yeah, because I quit my day job to spend more time writing, so I will also be spending more time editing. So, you may be able to save $4, but it's yeah. Yeah. So that, yeah.
I also struggle with this.
Those stylistic elements are showing up. One really good book to read, and it sounds really silly, is Harry Potter. See how she structures her paragraphs. Like, look at every single sentence. Especially in the later books, she does some very, very clever work where she will, like, set off a paragraph with, like, an abstract, and then she'll, like, dive into it in more detail. Be like, potions class was horrible that day. Snape threw a gibberet at so-and-so, and it exploded, and, blah, blah, blah. And those types of things. So, like, she does a very smart thing of setting up a little thesis at the beginning. So, like, his sentence structure is one thing, and I think that's something that's kind of coming through with some of that abstract stuff. But the other thing to think about is the paragraph structure. She's structuring her paragraphs by giving us a little topic sentence, giving us the details, giving us a little summary. She's very, very good at how she runs a page. She runs a page really well. People to study. So that, because I feel like your concepts here are good. Like, this is interesting. You have a new take on, for giving us exposition, you did it really well. Which is you had this cool thing where you become the story. That's pretty cool. But some of the things that we're breaking down are some of our earlier notes where, a bit of verbal doubling where you're repeating things. Where you're, prepares just, or we're getting a little bit distracted by exposition. So those types of things may be able to help. I want to go ahead and jump. We have a little shorter one after this. Or should we go to bed?
Up to you, Pretty late. You're the star.
What is your deal?
I got nothing to do.
You got nothing to do?
Yeah.
No bad. That's true. All right, I'm going to do one more little story.
Yeah, let's do another one.
It's got me. But this was great, great, great work. And, it's really scary submitting stuff. So that's like the biggest step. We don't get no sleep. All right, that's true.
Very true.
I should fluff up my hair and get this hair.
Fluff mine too if you want.
Do it. Stand up.
Stands out.
Swag.
Freshly air dried. Poofy hair. It's nice.
Swag. You look fab.
Beautiful.
You look like you're about to go tear up a freaking dance floor. You look like you should be wearing this shirt. In true metal. True metal. Alright. I'm going to grab a quick little snacky poo.
What are you getting? What are you getting?
I don't know.
I am the dancing queen. Aren't you glad we got fries earlier?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, email me when the video goes up. Of course, Katrina. Also, does she need to resub to send her other chapter?
Just send it in.
Just send it in. Just send in your other chapter.
No resub. It won't necessarily be a priority edit because
We'll get to it.
Yeah, but we're gonna get through stuff a little faster.
You're speaking my language, mister. This is what he got us, guys. Look at this.
No.
Speaking my language.
I'm reset anyways. Well,
you don't gotta.
Thank you. Looking forward to reading it. I can open this, which is might be too much for me.
Do you need me to do it?
There we go. We did a thing.
Okay, do you want to hold this?
Well, thank you. The Flightless Fairy.
Whose is this?
This is, oh my goodness. He's a Strudel, AKS.
Yeah.
Dang. Milano's, man. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
What? Oh!
Resub, the newly minted boss. Welcome.
Woo!
Thank you so much for the resub.
Headbang! Headbang!
You have sub emotes? I'm going to make one. I don't know how, but I'm going to figure it out. If anybody is a designer and they want to make one, let me know. You can make my sub emote. Yeah, I'm planning on making one too.
For now, it's this fish.
Yeah.
That's nightingales, though.
That's true.
Empress nightingale fish.
Well, thank you so much. So kind. Much appreciated. And looking forward to reading this. Reading your next chapter.
Huskies must be fed.
Yeah.
We'll probably feed you. We'll send you pizza. Give us your address.
Wordwin loves making emotes. Woof. Indeed. The hungriest huskies. I'll do a priority edit for a sub emote. Guaranteed. If you make me my sub emote and help me set it up. Right, I gotta stop eating these. But yeah.
Pixies are born to fly.
It is merely a matter of nature. Fish are born to swim, as dogs are born to run.
The flight of the fairy, however, is not like that of the bluebird, nor is it like that of the bumblebee. Moving lower creature. Nothing more than a means to travel by. The fairy flying is its dancing, a beautiful and celebrating form of expression.
Putting back into the world everything has been put into themselves. Again, yeah, so I would ask, what does that, because every time you go into fantasy, and it's sort of like the same thing, being super specific matters. Because you're bringing someone into a new world, so you can't be like, oh, it's kind of like fish, and they're like, well, fish, what, you know. So you really, 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 really want to be specific here, Strudel. And you can still do it while maintaining this paternal narrator voice, which is a very common one.
Fed for you. Good night,
Fed
Katrina.
for me. Night, Katrina. Thanks for stopping by. Night. And the video will have your entire edits. Great work, by the way. It was a really fun story. And I'm excited.
I liked it.
Excuse me, I'm excited to see chapter 1.
Woo!
Hooray. Okay. You can even give it a paternal narrator voice. So it could be like, it's as much like you spin on the dance floor. Whatever that looks like.
Very nice. Little sentence.
Whatever that looks like. Give us those concrete. That's still even a little bit too abstract, to be honest. But you can do it in that narrator's voice, right? You don't have to jump into some weird voice. So that paternal narrator can still give us concrete details. It's a common belief that fairies speak in chimes. That's a misconception in Europe, for flight is their language, and the sound of bells is only heard when they dance upon the wind. Now, when I said that fairies are born to fly, I do not mean all fairies do fly.
Excuse me.
I did not mean all fairies do fly. This feels longer than it needs to be to express that point.
I think it works. I think it works with the sort of fairy tales paternal narrator.
Okay. There's one particular pixie. I like the alliteration there. So sometimes alliteration works, especially in fanciful stories. There is no reason that this individual should be forbidden from the skies. He had wings just as the other did. The fact was that he remained grounded. Nor did he appear to lack the will and the design necessary. What? Again. Yeah, whatever. This is a bad example, but it's 11. It's midnight, so.
Getting sleepy.
I know. No, there was nothing wrong with the Fae, at least not any by any discernible. So but yeah, but give us that concrete, specific thing. This is something that's very, very commonly an issue as people kind of are getting comfortable with their writing. But there's nothing wrong with the Fae, at least not by any discernible standards.
I think he's the pixie of the earth. Actually, it's not even a pixie at all. It looked like a branch.
So why is he sad? So we're getting into his perspective now. And his perspective tells me that he's like, yeah, this isn't for me. So why is he sad in the above paragraph?
I'd rather he's trying to deceive himself.
And that's the trick about the concrete stuff. So, like, to know of his sorrow. So, I mean, I guess that's pretty specific. He certainly looked like a pixie between a branch like a snake. Besides, everyone knew that pixies were born to fly. Hey. Or was a goat or an elephant? An elephant would be fun. Still, he thought little to comfort him. Okay, so yeah, there comes the turn. I would get us further into his thoughts. Show us that he's. So you're telling us he's deceiving himself. Get and describe his thoughts in such a way that we know he's, totally jealous, So, like, maybe it's like, who needs to buzz around like a bee anyways? I could be really cut out to be an elephant or a fish. Big floppy ears, my wings could double as that. Like, you can still report whatever that is as his thoughts, but...
Even if all his friends did look like beautiful glimmers of starlight on dark nights.
Starlight sucks. Keeps me awake when I'm trying to sleep, especially when one of them comes down and says hello.
And the way they sing when they pass the moon.
Exactly.
It's horrible.
And that'll also make us relate to the character more. And you can do that even with this paternal narrator that you're creating, because he can report, this paternal narrator is omniscient. At least that's how you've established him, because we're already getting in some of his thoughts. So you can be like, every morning he would look up and think, look at those morons floating around like a bunch of foppish fairies. I'm much more happy down here.
He would then spend the next 3 hours trying to jump off of the highest rock he could find and hoping he could fly.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a lot of comedy, and you have a lot of this great contrast already built. And by getting in a little bit deeper, getting into the actual thoughts and getting the character, you can make that really come to life and make something really special. Even more special. The other fairies, the jovial beings, as they are, wished for all their kin to join in their happiness, and did what they could to help. While this was an unprecedented case, the little people were certain they would be victorious in their venture.
It never failed at anything else before. This would be a straightforward one.
That's
kind of weird. It's kind of it's like giving the other fairies a goal before, like, a goal. So it's like.
Yeah, so that's good. So this is two notes here, I would say. So one is like what Fox was saying, which was the other fairies seem to want him to fly more than he does and try to help him before he admits it's a problem. One is the loneliest number. Yeah. The other thing is, this is verbal doubling. It's very well disguised because you will do a really great job with this paternal narrator, but you're about to tell us exactly what this just summarized. So why would you summarize twice?
Where's the doubling?
It's this down here, because he's telling us that he's pretty much setting up that it's going to be a mess. Because he's like, well, they've never really dealt with something this hard before, blah, 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 and did all they could to help. But it's all going to be, this could work just fine. The other fairies, the jovial beings, wish they could help. Their first thought was their earthbound brother needed to spend more money, or, whatever their first attempt is. That should jump, straight into scene. Oops, I got to put it on editing mode here. This summarizes the great specific examples you're about to give. Consider just giving the examples and
showing that they're not that experienced, right?
Yeah. And consider diving into the scene. That's one of the big challenges with paternal narrators and narrator stuff, is that, you're always up here. You're always up at 500 feet in the air looking down. So if you can, these are great moments to zoom us down to ground level and to say, their first thought was to, get 2 small, matches and strap them to his back, and after it was 2 in the afternoon and they put him on a nice bright rock, he smiled around excitedly. They all applauded as their friend. They lit the matches and he burst into flame, whatever that, but bring us into that scene more, and maybe even a play-by-play of he was terrified, the matches were on his back, he looked over his shoulder and all his fairy friends gave him a thumbs up. Little did he know, when he struck the match that was going to light them, he burst into flame, So you can zoom us into that level even more. We're staying up at about 500 feet this whole time, which is okay, but these specific examples are opportunities for you to get in. Consider expanding on these examples, getting us to a play-by-play scene. Looked terrified. Head strapped 2 matches to his back while he was sleeping.
What the matches do?
Light him, goes up in the air, flies.
Matches don't fly.
I know, that's why they're fairies, they're real dumb. It's because they're fairies, man.
When did you become a fairy?
Oh, trust me, I've been a fairy all my life. I'm real dumb. This is the best throne.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, what a good woman. Oh, my goodness. My first thought was that they're earthbound brother needed to spend more time with the frequent flyers. Isolated himself. Maybe you're just happy. Yeah, that's true. Born. Suffice to say, the earnest attempts to include him ended poorly. Hawk does not become a duck no matter how often it sweats its wings. And that plan faltered. The Pitsy clan moves to another. Perhaps he's not light enough. He's weighed down too heavily by dark thoughts. These thoughts clung to him through shadow, following him when he went, anchoring him. Okay, that's interesting. What does this look like? Does this look like? Give an example on a sunny day. Is this really happening? Yeah, I'd be really, really specific about these. And so the first made to show them off one night while they were using a beam of sunlight as their blade. This is a really good moment for a play-by-play.
So it's like he actually had shadows following him.
And so on. That's a really bad example. Maybe you're just happy. Which of my music? Or gets it.
Aggressive suicidal black metal, obviously.
Yeah.
Arctic hypnagogic vaporwave. Does it induce hypnagogia? Actually, I don't like hypnagogia.
What's hypnagogia?
When you're like falling asleep, like jerk awake, feel like you're falling.
Confirmed.
Yes.
Induces hypnagogia. Nice. So like try to get us into this vivid present scene of like they're creeping into his tent. They take the sunblade out. They're about to slice the blackness away, and then whatever. But shot to this guy became clear that it was a typical fae who was in fact atypical.
Yeah, what's the name of your band for the Arctic hypnagogic vaporium?
The latter sounds interesting.
Just in case I want to look it up and like do some weird sleep
With
stuff.
all other options having been exhausted, they decided on one final course of action. The Flightless fairy might simply need a push. Yikes. So after luring him top of the hill, they pushed him quite literally off the cliff. They appeared to the pixie would want silence. The fairy was airborne for quite some time. At this point, he had long since his abandonment of the idea of flying doesn't correlate in my mind to a high pain tolerance. Again, another great break these out into half-page scenes. See how it reads. These are fun. This is where you can have fun, make the comedy of these fairies interacting with each other, have some dialogue. you do a great job with this narrator, with the paternal fairy tale narrator, but remember, that's not the only tool you have in your belt. You can pull out the dig into a scene tool. You can pull out the silly fairy dialogue tool. All those things can make the story even come to life even more than it already is, and it's very fun and funny. We ran into the undergrowth before because we have a problem, we have a hero, we have someone we want to win. I do kind of want more of his perspective. I wish I knew what I get little bits of how he thinks about it, but I kind of want that extra. How does he feel? Does it make him sad? Does it make him alone? How does he try to respond to it? Looks like he's just given up, but is there more? I'll write that in the bottom here. Want to know more about how this feels about it.
I wanna know
This is sad.
who really loves me. Stay attentive every heartbeat.
Cruising around. I think that's a sleepy fox. That's a sleepy fox. I've never heard one. He ran off into the undergrowth before they could check up on him. They would have been able to follow him so close. He did not need their condolences nor their optimism, both of which were waited upon their own to smother him further in. Were weighted enough on their own to smother him into the ground. Show me what this feels like to him. Not sure I understand. Are these helpful thoughts? Keeping him down? My favorite is around 310. Oh dang. Alright. We gotta go into a fugue state real quick.
I really get the sense of the cold. I think that was the first. Because it is or the
Oh. Oh. Alright, back to work.
Alright.
I want to make sure I do this kind soul justice. He appreciated their help, to be sure. It made him smile knowing the others cared for him the way they did, but he didn't want anyone other than himself to have to carry his burdens. He was afraid he might be deceased, that he was diseased. I'm tired. That he was beyond saving them. Whatever sickness plagued him would just infect those who tried to help. I think it's actually kind of a cool description, I feel like, of depression, which feels, which is awesome that this is touching on a deeper theme. But I feel like that connection, if that is, or whatever you're trying to make this represent, because you obviously had a theme in mind writing this, I think you really would do well to expand this into a scene again. I'm going to beat a dead horse on this one, but these emotions I want to experience. I want to experience what this feels like with the characters. Show me how stressed he is about bringing others down with him. Yeah. If anyone else would cease being able to fly, we'd no longer be known as the pixie who stole everything there. Stopped running, having a small. It had been a long day, and he wanted nothing more than to fall asleep and leave it all behind. Perhaps when he woke, things would be different. It's another foolish notion. He almost wished he didn't have wings at all. then at least he'd have a legitimate explanation for all his woes. He sighed. There was no point in pining over something he had no control over. But what did that mean for him then? Should he just accept it? That he would never be able to fly, or should he just keep trying regardless? As he drifted off into a slumber, his wings twitched. So I like this. I like that acceptance gives him a chance to fly. I assumed his wings could move, though. You might want to clarify that he can't fly because his wings are completely locked down, you know. I thought like he just was like super uncoordinated and like flopping around. So that's like why these specific things are so important. You know, when you're in the scene, he tried to open up his wings, but they were locked against his back.
Or they're like paralyzed.
They were completely paralyzed, you know. So those moments where that scene can really bring us in and answer some of those questions.
Also, I want to see a more specific reason why his wings start twitching. He kind of, I wanted there to be some sort of resolution of him being like, I'll just have to keep trying. I'll never give up, or I'm just gonna accept myself just the way I am. I can still have a happy life, or something like that, and then drift off into slumber. Like whatever you want that moral to be.
Okay, thank you. Let me like whatever that like. And that's
because right now it's just a flurry
thought.
Of different ideas, and I don't really know what I'm supposed to take from it.
Yeah, don't feel like we land on one idea that tells me he's changed. Also, once you have that idea, go back and plant its opposite in his thoughts. Yeah, so then once you say, hey, I have this idea now. Let's say it's, I'm good as long as I'm me. Then maybe all earlier he's like, I'm never good enough because I'm not going to fly. I'm never good enough because the other guys are. And then in all those attempts that his little friends are trying to help him, he's like, they just want me to help them, but I'm not good enough. I won't, even if they put a rocket pack on my back, I'd still go flying into the ground, So whatever that looks like, that's a pretty helpful tool. But other than that, hey, great work. I think this is a great heart of a story, and I think, that's what we're asking for is for more, expanding some of those things out into scenes, using some of those other tools in your tool belt, scene, dialogue, thought, interiority, stuff like that. But that is the show for tonight, guys. We are sleepy fox.
Yeah, my eyes have dried out. Blind. Context.
Go listen to some depressive black metal, also known as his homie.
Arctic, hypnotic, whatever.
Yep, that stuff. It's a good stuff.
Ice cold.
Yeah, sorry it was a little short one tonight, but we went longer than I thought I would. I thought I was only going to last an hour, and it lasted an hour and 20 minutes. So go us.
We have some crazy Saturday nights, guys.
Yeah, it's 12:21. What am I going to do? Yeah, you can tell we're real high wires. That's what those whippersnappers call it these days.
Oh, and I have to lift home.
Oh, shit. That sucks. Shit. Let's get you a normal lift. Yeah. Anyways, great writing for one. All the writers, great job with the writing. Good night, everyone. Keep it real. I will see your all's work in my queue soon.